Now before we refresh ourselves with the good animated films, let's take a look at the honorable mentions that find themselves right down the middle. Like I said before, this year mostly consists of movies that can range from decent to mediocre. Chances are you'll most likely forget about them once I move on to the best list. But it is still nice to give them a little time to shine to show that they have at least contributed to 2017. They are Leap, or Ballerina. Could have been a really nice animated film if it weren't for the terrible voice acting. The Lego Ninjago movie still has the fun of the Lego movie, but tries too hard to be the Lego movie. My Little Pony the movie definitely satisfies the fans of the show, but non-fans will think, well, it exists. And finally, Ferdinand. It does have the heart of the original book, but it also has a lot of weak writing and annoying sidekicks. Now, let's say that I would make the list a bit bigger on both, like the top 7 best and worst. Among these films, where would I put them? Well, the best list would have My Little Pony the movie and Leap, while the worst would include the Lego Ninjago movie and Ferdinand. So... Number 5. Cars 3. Similar to The Nutjob 2, this is one of those sequels that very few people asked for, especially after the embarrassing results of Cars 2. But, to its credit, after getting our full attention by teasing Lightning McQueen's near-death experience, it did show that the franchise improved itself since last time. What made this film work more than its predecessor is that the focus is back onto what Cars is all about: racing. No more out-of-place spy stories, Mater isn't dominating the movie, and it does take itself more seriously to honor the sport of NASCAR racing. Sure, it has a pretty mediocre script, which makes it feel more like your typical sports movie with a lot of elements taken from the Rocky films. Succeed in its main selling points. The animation is quite solid, the racing scenes are enjoyable, and it adds a sweet tribute to Paul Newman, who played Doc Hudson in the first film. And if that didn't fully satisfy audiences, then maybe the short that appeared before it would, called Lou, with highly creative animation and a touching story. Number 4. Despicable Me 3. The biggest animation record that broke in 2017 was that this film helped Despicable Me to become the first ever animated franchise to have 2 movies that crossed $1 billion at the box office, with the other being Minions. With that said, it's quite understandable how this film got a lot of appeal. What made the third installment work is that it maintains the elements that made audiences love Despicable Me, like great humor, memorable characters, and a good amount of heartwarming moments. At the same time, it also delivers new elements to keep it feel fresh, like the history of Gru's family when meeting up with his twin brother Drew, and a hilariously crazy villain that's entirely themed to the 1980s called Balthazar Brat. However, among the 3, it is agreed that this is the weakest Despicable Me film, since the story itself is a bit of a mess. It contains way too many plots with easily predictable outcomes, and they fail to connect with each other in order to tell this one cohesive story. But thankfully, the execution did help elevate the film to be enjoyable, and it ended up contributing Despicable Me to become a strong trilogy.
So, how are things career-wise? Haha, great!
Number 3. Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. What made it become one of the best animated films of the year is that it managed to create something that many tried and failed. Take a classic kids book and turn it into a good movie. Based on the beloved book series by Dave Pilkey, The feature perfectly captures the spirit of Captain Underpants with its crazy humor that, while it does have its immature moments, actually makes it more clever than it seems. On top of that, the animation knew exactly how to bring the illustrations of the pages to life, on top of incorporating a lot of creative moments with different mediums. And the fact that it only has a budget of around $38 million makes it even more impressive that it looks better than some of the more expensive films of its kind. But like Captain Underpants himself, it does have the issue that it can get stuck in its own little world. Its mindset is so focused on trying to be like the books that it would unintentionally slip in some flaws like some pointless scenes and having one-dimensional characters. Number 2. The Lego Batman Movie. After all this time that Warner Brothers would try so hard to reboot Batman with a DC extended universe, the greatest Batman movie since The Dark Knight ultimately turned out to be a wacky animated comedy with Legos. But I'm not saying that as a bad thing. There's actually a great reason that the Lego Batman Movie earned that title. The goal of the film is to simultaneously play two roles. One is to be a spin-off of the Lego Movie, while the other is to be a standalone Batman film. And it works on both sides. The movie succeeds in capturing the great animation to create a world entirely out of Legos and maintain the same style and humor and logic from the Lego Movie, while it also satirizes and honors the entire legacy of Batman by delivering a lot of great action scenes, references to several eras, and diving deep into the psychology of Batman, where being a sole vigilante is both a blessing and a curse. In a time when superheroes are dominating movies, it's nice to have a film that just wants to have fun. No setups for a big cinematic universe, no time to take itself way too seriously, no worry about consistency or anything like that. This is just a movie that rather wants to be its own thing and have fun with it. It's enjoyable, it's simple, it's Legos, and it's Batman. And that's what makes this both one of the year's best animated films and superhero films.
I deserve this today. Today I deserve it.
And the number one best animated film of 2017 is...
I'm wondering what your family does at that time of year.
Oh yeah, I forgot that it starts with an Olaf short. Alright, just give me a moment. And the number one best animated film of 2017 is... Coco. I remember when people had their doubts over this movie before it was released. Controversies, questions about creative decisions, comparisons to the Book of Life, all of which brought skepticism onto the film. But when it was time for the movie to truly present itself, that was when everything changed. The reason why Coco is considered the best animated film of the year is because of how it presents itself as a celebration of Mexican culture. How the theme of music and family are presented throughout the feature, the use of Mexican folk art and vibrant colors on the animation, and characters that audiences could make parallels from their own family are all reasons that helped made it become Mexico's most beloved animated feature. But it's not just them that loves this film. People from all around the world embrace it because it's great. The story is engaging and filled with a lot of heart. The animation is spectacularly grand and highly creative, and the characters are unforgettable and loaded with surprises. Sure, 2017 was pretty terrible and there were more memorably bad moments than memorably good ones, But if there is one thing that we can take from it so we can always cherish the great moments it brought us, it would have to be placing Coco as the #1 best animated film of 2017.